Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. I think this should be a year all about joyful wine drinking. And today I'm going to share some really simple tips to help you get the most out of any bottle of wine so that when you're having that delicious glass with friends and family this year, it's going to be a truly joyful experience. The tips and tricks I'm going to share with you today will help you get the most out of any bottle of wine that you drink, whether that's a £5 supermarket wine or a £50 special occasion wine. You don't need to buy any fancy equipment, and these are all simple things that you can do at home. Now, before you even open your bottle of wine, you're probably going to wonder, what temperature should you be serving it at? So I have a really simple rule. You might see that on bottles of wine it has a suggested service temperature. So for white, rosé and sparkling, that tends to be around about 9 degrees centigrade. For a red wine, a fuller bodied red wine, that tends to be at about 18 degrees. And for lighter reds, that's about 15 degrees. Now, if you're anything like me, you don't actually know what that relates to. So here's the simple tip. If you're drinking a fuller bodied red wine, I like to put it into the fridge for 20 minutes before serving. Your fridge temperature is normally around about 5 degrees, so if your ambient temperature in your home is around about 20 degrees, that just takes the edge off slightly and brings it down to that serving temperature. Similarly, for your white wines, you don't actually want them to be really over chilled, especially not at this time of year. Might be a little bit different in the summer. So take it out of the fridge 20 minutes before serving, and that's going to raise that temperature ever so slightly to round about that 9 or 10 degree point. And for a lighter red wine, well, even in the winter, I still like to chill those ever so slightly. So pop them in the fridge for maybe a little bit more than that 20 minutes, and you're just going to get the perfect serving temperature. Oh, and another little tip, if you're going to be drinking wine, don't brush your teeth before you do so. You can do that at the end of the evening. When it comes to service of wine, I really love to decant my red wines. So that often implies that you need to have something fancy, but really you can have something as very simple as this, a kitchen jug, which I'm sure you've all got one kicking around in your kitchen, and a funnel. This is one I've actually reclaimed from my son, but you can pick them up for probably about £1 on a major online retailer, or basically any supermarkets normally got them. So with a funnel and a jug, that's all you need to decant. So I would pour my wine into the jug, then simply pop that in there and pour it back in the bottle, and voila, you have decanted your wines. Now, you've got to remember that wine has been stuck inside this bottle. It's kind of feeling really closed and really tight, and we want to release those flavours. So that is why decanting a wine is a really great way just to get some air in there and let the aromas open up again. It's a bit like when you've been really cramped up on a train or on an aeroplane and you just want to stretch yourself out. It's no different for a wine. Next up, that's very important, is the shape of the wine glass. Now, I mean, technically you could drink wine out of anything, and in many occasions I do. If you're on a picnic, you might have little goblets or tumblers. But when you're at home, it's worth just buying a few really decent, and they don't have to cost the earth, wine glasses. Now, this is the shape that I normally like. It's what's called a tulip shape because, well, it looks like the shape of a tulip. It's got a nice thin rim, so it hasn't got a really big chunky thickness there. It's got this lovely kind of wider bowl at the bottom, so that when I pour my wine into the glass, I never fill it up to the top. That looks about right. It's got this lovely space in there, and then you've got room for that all-important swirl. So we've got the glass sorted, we've decanted our wine if it's red. You don't need to do it for white. And if you're drinking champagne, I actually also recommend that you use exactly the same wine glass because it saves on the washing up too. So, swirling. Now, I know it might look like a bit of a wine pretentious thing to do, but I actually think it's a really great way to make sure you maximize the absolute pleasure that you're going to get. Again, as I talked about, the wine's been shut up inside and it wants to have some oxygen in there to let those aromas out and start giving you the pleasure that they really want to give you. So a good swirl just helps that. Now, get your nose right in there. Our noses are incredible, and up to 80% of what we taste comes through our sense of smell. So it really does pay just to kind of have a lovely, good, deep sniff of that wine. Oh, it's delicious. Now, the next thing is actually drinking a bit of it. Now, you may have seen, well, I'm certainly guilty of it, wine people who they suck in a little bit of air. Now, you can do that, or you can obviously choose not to do that. But if you do, it's again just about getting a little bit more oxygen in there, and then you want to swirl it all around your mouth. So here we go. We've had a little swirl, we're having a nose, and we're going in. And voila. I let that roll around in my mouth so I could feel whether there are any tannins in there. That's the mouth drying thing. And then also you're thinking about the acidity. That's the mouth watering sensation. And those wonderful things where your juices get flowing allows you to kind of really feel the pleasure of the taste of the wine. And that, at the end of the day, is what it's all about. So I like to think about the 5 S's of wine. You have sight, smell, swirl, sip, and savour. Now, those are 5 really nice, handy ways to be thinking, about your wine. Now, it might be that you decide you don't actually want to finish a whole bottle of wine and you want to keep it. So most wines actually keep in the fridge really well for 2 to 3 days. But if you've got half a bottle of wine left, something I love to do is to decant it into a smaller bottle. So again, just take your trusty funnel, pop it in the top, fill it all up, screw it back on. A screw cap's a really handy half bottle to enjoy that with, and then just pop it in the fridge, and that's going to really keep for quite some time. It's perfect because if you're trying to moderate what you drink, this is an excellent way to make sure you make that lovely bottle of wine last longer. So hopefully some of these ideas have been a small amount of inspiration to help you elevate the way that you drink and enjoy wines. Wine isn't pretentious. It's something that is there for everybody to enjoy, and it doesn't matter whether you're spending £5 on a bottle of wine or £50 on a bottle of wine. There are ways that you can really enhance and elevate the way that you enjoy drinking wine. So just with some small simple steps like getting some decent wine glasses that they don't have to cost the earth. IKEA, Habitat, and these places all do some really kind of inexpensive wine glasses of this shape. It's just thinking about ways that you can enjoy that wine. So swirling it, getting the smells, remembering your nose is a powerhouse of taste. And most of all, it's about finding some lovely people that you want to sit down and enjoy a good glass of wine with, because wine is about pleasure. It's about bringing people together. It's about having a good time. And I really hope that your 2025 finds some delicious wine discoveries for you to share with those people that you love. Cheers.